Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we're going to get right into the weekly reading for the sign of Capricorn. Alright, let's get right into it. We're heading close and fast to the new year. I can't wait. 2020, yay to saying goodbye to 2019. It was a rough year for a lot of people. A lot of ups and downs. 2020 I'm expecting to be much brighter. Now let's get right into it, Capricorn. We're going to pull out your 3 romance angel messages. The January love readings will be out over the next few days, so pay attention, hit that bell. Forgiving and learning. Here we have honeymoon, love it. And we have unrequited love. Wow. You'll see how beat up that card is. For a while, it really came out a lot for the readings. And it hasn't been around for quite some time. So let's get into your animal spirits, my lovelies, for this weekly period. This really quite auspicious week. You know, it's the last few days of 2019 and the first week of 2020. So let's just see what you may or may not be dealing with, what kind of personalities or energy may be coming available to you during this period. Animal spirits can also indicate sort of stages or paths in your life that you're about to enter into, right? So let's get into it. And the Aquarius and Pisces readings will be out today too for you cross watchers. Phoenix. Wow. Associated with the first chakra, the root chakra, you know, birth and death and rebirth and reincarnation. All right, we'll get right into that. We have the hyena, which is also fire element. Of course, Phoenix and all the chakra animal spirits associated with the chemical symbol for ether. And the Panther. Chaos, all right? Chaos and annihilation of the old. All right, let's get right into it. The Phoenix talks about just sort of letting go of suffering, right? Talks about being intentional in letting go suffering. It's time to burn off that karma. It's time to let go of it. You don't need it. You know, the suffering, the Phoenix generally comes into our lives when we're suffering. You know, all suffering to a certain degree is, of course, of our own making. To a certain degree, right? Sometimes to a great degree. But when the Phoenix comes into our lives, the suffering we're going through now is definitely of our own making. It's a suffering that to a certain that we are choosing, not consciously. Nobody chooses to suffer, but that, you know, we're not making a choice to not suffer. Let me put it to you this way, right? We're suffering because we haven't sort of really faced up to the desire to say enough is enough. When the Phoenix shows up, Capricorn, it's really beautiful because it's a feeling of saying, yes, now I am ready to not suffer anymore. And that's a statement a lot of people say, well, of course, you know, but it's easier said than done sometimes because our suffering comes to us as a result of some of our habits, right? As a result of our habitual sort of ways of thinking, our ideas that we hold on to, right? The ideas and thoughts and actions that we are used to taking and holding on to that are very difficult to let go of. And so, of course, we want to let go of suffering. We all want to let go of suffering, but the steps to that are actually very, very difficult. When Phoenix comes in, you're ready to take those steps. Whatever it takes now, you're ready to do it because you know there's no reason for you to suffer anymore, Capricorn. You don't deserve it. Whatever bad karma or negative karma you've had to deal with, you've burned it off. It's now time to rise from those ashes like the Phoenix does. Now, hyena energy is fire energy, talking about wit and humor and sarcasm. Biting sarcasm. We're not talking about nice humor here. We're talking about the kind of humor that happens when you're trying to cover over deeper pains. And oftentimes the hyena is trying to cover over pain, the pain of feeling inadequate, the pain of failure, and the pain of dreams that just have not been realized, right? This is the person who's always trying to crack a joke, you know, or is always trying to be a smart ass, right? And they think it's funny, but the truth of the matter is it really isn't oftentimes that funny. This is one of these type of people that, you know, although they think they're being quite clever, sometimes it can be quite painful to watch them behave because it's obvious that the energy is coming from such a sad, really, place, right? And so, you know, if you're resonating with this, or you know somebody who's resonating with this, you know, the way to get over this sort of energy is to just face up, you know, face up to sort of, you know, the things that have disappointed you, perhaps about yourself or your life, you know. Having the moon there be in half new moon, technically half full moon, almost, right? One side, it's like you don't see the other side. It's that feeling, it alludes to sort of that feeling of, you know, in all comedy or in all jokes, there is a kernel of truth, right? There's, you know, there's always a negative side to the other side. And so certainly here we're talking about that energy of like, yeah, okay, you're being funny, you're making a joke, you're making light of a situation that actually is very serious, actually really requires much more attention and focus. And you can, of course, get out of this, but it's a lot of shadow work and healing that needs to be done. A lot of forgiving and learning, right? Now, the Panther is fire energy, and fire energy of the Panther is all about chaos, bringing chaos into your life to annihilate the old. And so what we're talking about with Panther is like, sometimes things happen in our lives, you know, chaotic events come into our lives through no fault of our own. This is simply, you know, chaos out of our hands, just suddenly descending. But what happens is that oftentimes once the dust is settled and once everything is done and you've come out of it, you realize that it was necessary. You know, it was like a life colonic or something, you know, it was necessary for that chaos to come in because everything needed to be shook up, everything needed to change, and certainly there were things in your life, environment, in relationships, etc., that no longer you needed. You know, they no longer played any kind of important factor to you, but they were gumming up the works. You know, they were obstacles to progression. And even if you didn't see it, this is why the Panther comes in, you know, because the Panther annihilates negativity and the old and the things left over from the past that we don't even realize are still there until they're gone. And then we realize, oh, wow, thank goodness that's gone. Now the way is open for so much more, so many more possibilities and options and opportunities for me. All right, my Capricorn, let's get right into your 3-card spreads. Pull out about 4 of them. I find myself, I used to pull out more, but I think 4 is a good number. So we're going to pull out 4 forecasts for you this week and take a look at what they are. We have straight out Justice, 4 of Swords, and the 8 of Swords. Now, some of you are coming into this week really deciding that things need to be rebalanced, right? There is perhaps a judgment that you're actually waiting for. Justice, of course, talks about bringing balance into your life. It can also talk about a legitimate sort of official rendering, a business decision, a judgment, a mediation process, something in an official capacity that also serves to bring balance, right? Serves to bring justice where there was injustice, right? And so some of you are indeed dealing with that as you're coming in this week. Now you're met with a 4 of Swords, which is a feeling of having to be very strategic. Now it could be that a certain judgment has come in for you or a certain decision has come in for you. And of course it's a positive decision because justice will come in to rebalance your life, to bring balance. And so this is always in your favor. But it's caused you to feel like you've had to be very strategic. And I'm going to say probably, you know, this decision, this rendering or this rebalancing, of course, means that somebody else who's been really sort of being favored for, you know, to the extreme, I'm going to say, you know, the balance, you know, somebody's been getting more of something that they don't necessarily need to have while you've been out of balance, right? So bringing it back into balance oftentimes means that someone's pissed. Right? Someone's angry, someone's irritated, and it's funny because you're being very strategic about this, but you round the week off with an 8 of Swords, which is really a very toxic energy, you know? 8 of Swords is the great victimizer, you know? This is the person who's always playing the victim, who's always gaslighting other people into believing that, you know, the problem is with them, right? this individual who resonates with Eight of Swords is very sort of restricted in their thinking, and therefore they're very alienated from the rest of the world. So interestingly enough, this is how your week rounds out. And it's funny because it's like, I think this feels like a family situation to me. Like something has happened in the family and, you know, it's going to affect the family dynamic. You're trying to come in and be very strategic, but still there's this very sort of toxic energy that's left over here with this Eight of Swords. And somebody is resonating with that, or a certain, I want to say even a group of people may be resonating with that, because it does feel like a family sort of dilemma. And what is required, of course, is forgiving and learning and talking, communicating. Could very well be Panther energy at play too, that this judgment has brought a lot of chaos into a particular situation. This is going to be tricky for some of you for quite some time. Page of Swords, the Fool, and the Page of Wands. Some of you are coming into this week very strong with your Page of Swords, very optimistic about your plans and your ideas and how to put them into place. You won't be sort of deterred. Oh, please excuse my cat. She's like getting so weird. She gets weird at the end of the year too, but she gets weird during the readings. The Page of Swords is all about clear thinking, logical thinking, keeping his head clear, and keeping his head also free from negative sort of self-doubt. Keeping away those around him that would seek to fill him with doubt. You know, criticism is one thing. Positive and helpful criticism is one thing. But when you're just trying to be negative, or when you just want to make a point because it makes you feel good that you're able to make a point or something like that, that's all comes from a real egocentric place. And it's not helpful for anyone. And Page of Swords is all about combating that. So some of you Capricorns are coming into this week with that energy. And you're met with the Fool. And it's quite interesting because it's like a whole new path starting. A whole new stage or a whole new path, definitely starting for you as a result of this energy, right? I feel also for some of you Capricorns that you're being put in contact with people who are very much aligned with you. They are also, you know, with other individuals that are also starting a new stage in their life. They have something to bring to the table. Because it's quite interesting. You're also round the week off with a Page of Wands. And Page of Wands is all about fighting fear. Definitely a feeling of overcoming fear and being extremely sort of idealistic, you know. The difference is, of course, with the pages are all earth, right? They all associated with earth. But so Page of Swords, you have the earth practical side of air, which is the mental communication. And the same thing with the page. You have the earthy practical side of fire and passion. So with the pages, we talk about, you know, being very practical in those areas, right? Page of Swords is being very practical about keeping his mind clear, you know, keeping his sense of self, because the ego is associated with the mind, not the spirit. It's associated with the mind and the sword. So keeping himself clear, keeping himself positive, keeping his mind clear and his thoughts clear and not cluttered with self-doubt. The same thing is with the Page of Wands, which is how you round your week off, which is like being very practical about going after your passions, you know, the things you believe in, the things that are close to your spiritual center or your moral center, which is what Page is all associated with. Overcoming the fear of expressing yourself creatively and impulsively, right? And so this is really a great week for you. You start off the week on the one hand straight up positive, and you kind of come into this new stage, Capricorn, and some of you round off the week with a sense of fearlessness and a doubling down of going after the things that you believe in. So it's almost like a reawakening. Definitely Phoenix energy is at play, Capricorn. And some of you are really going down a whole new path for your life. 8 strength cards, 7 of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles. So I love the 8. The 8 is about strength and boundaries and borders, restrictions, discipline that we put on ourselves, right? The strength to sort of overcome our baser needs like lust, the strength to sort of overcome, and lust isn't necessarily bad, but anything, any baser emotion that controls you is not a position of strength. And so overcoming pride, you know, envy, anger, right? And all of that is associated with strength. So this week, some of you are coming into this week with that energy. You're also putting some boundaries in place. You're being very disciplined with yourself. And I think you're being very, very disciplined with those around you in the sense that you're deciding, it certainly feels almost like a New Year's resolution. You're deciding very much like to not let people cross boundaries, overstep their bounds with you, right? And in this way, you maintain your strength. Now, you come up to an energy of 7 Pentacles this week, Capricorn, which is definitely a feeling of reevaluating where you are at now with your life, your career, your business, what you do to bring in money, the hard work that you do that you bring in money, what you've desired to do. Because 7 is all about hopes and dreams for ourselves, right? Our wishes and dreams for ourselves. And of course, Pentacles is that effort we've put in. So you're reevaluating. Is the fruit of my labor that I'm starting to see now, is that really what I want? Is this, you know, do I want to continue tilling this particular type of garden and sort of, you know, growing these kinds of fruit, right? Getting this kind of payback, as it were, right? And you decide along the way if it's enough or if it's not enough, if you want more. And you round the week off with a Knight of Pentacles, which is for some of you, Capricorn, you change, right? You change your idea of what you want. You either change your path or you, you know, you seek a higher level in that path. Because as a result of this reevaluation, your Knight is back on, you know, is back in the game, right? Because the Knight of Pentacles, you know, seeks his, you know, has an objective of focus. And then he goes and goes and goes. He's a slow Knight, you know, he may arrive, it may take him some time to arrive, but the Knight of Pentacles is the most methodical and the most determined and purposeful Knight in the deck. And he will absolutely reach his destination or reach his goal, no matter how long it takes or, you know, how hard the road is. And so it's quite interesting that you round off the week with a focus and intention of another sort of stage that you want to get to. 4 of Pentacles, this is the last one, 9 of Swords, and the Emperor. So some of you are coming into this week with a little worry about money, right? There's a threat to your financial status, or you feel threatened. You feel your financial status is threatened in some way. And so you're coming in this week being very careful, being very spendthrift, as it were, you know. And you are met with the 9 of Swords, and there's a feeling of anxiety that increases. You know, a feeling of sort of sleeplessness. Am I gonna, you know, am I gonna get through this? What do I do? You know, how do I handle this? I think the threat, this threat of instability in your finances is probably this week really beginning to get to you. It may have been there for quite some time, but this week you're really starting to have anxiety about it. But you round out the week with Emperor energy, which is stability and power. And I'm going to say it feels very much like someone is coming into your life to help you. A leader, someone who's definitely a fiery, associated with Emperor. Aries, of course, is associated with the Emperor card. But 4 is the number for stability, right? We have a 4 and a major arcana 4. So here's a threat to your stability, but you round off the week with a strong, stable energy. And this could very well be, like I said, a father figure or a family member, a friend even, you know, that comes in. It could even be a lover. It doesn't matter. But someone comes into your life and looks and says, look, you know, it has that feeling of get your shit together, pull yourself together, you know, and they really sort of like motivate you. They help you to pull back, you know, because 9 of Swords is just fear and misery we put on ourselves. It doesn't really, it's not reflective of any factual reality around us. You know, it's when we have regret or anxiety about things that we may not even need to have anxiety about, but yet we put ourselves through that. So the Emperor comes in to really shake you up and sort of get your foundation back in track. I feel strongly like this is going to be a family member or a good friend who may be a little bit older than you, but certainly who has a lot of authority, may even be quite arrogant and brusque, you know, individual, but yet they do care for you and they may be giving you a little bit of tough love, you know, but in the form of helping you become more stable. All right, my lovely, lovely Capricorn, this is your reading December 29th to January 4th. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. But for right now, I'm just going to say have a wonderful rest of 2019 and a wonderful, wonderful beginning to 2020. Bye-bye now.